What's going on, everybody? Jeff Rager. It's the Daily Ticket. It's another episode. It's Wednesday. It's the 3rd. It's April. It's 2024. Hope you're having a fantastic start or beginning or middle or even end of your day. Wherever I may find you on this Wednesday, as always, please be so kind. Like, subscribe, download, follow the Daily Ticket wherever you get your podcast or watch it right here on YouTube as well. So I got a couple things on my mind, people. First of all, how about y'all? Y'all came to my defense. Yesterday, I told a riveting, moving story about a commenter that went after me. He was very mean. He wanted to tell me how to do the podcast. He said he didn't care about anything I had to say unless it was Tigers related. He said I was a narcissist, which I probably am. He says I always have to be the center of attention, which might not be a lie. But y'all stuck up for me. I told you the story. And all the comments sticking up for me. Little old Jeff Rager. I do appreciate that. Thank you. We'll get to the comments. I'll read some of those comments at the very end of this podcast. But we do have a lot to get to. Because at the taping of this pod, it's 1:10 on a Tuesday, I'm pretty confident the Tigers are not going to play baseball on Tuesday night. You'll know that to be fact when you finally watch or listen to this. And I also think later on today, they're supposed to play. I think that game's going to get rained out as well. I think there's a great chance that we either see a double dip tomorrow or they got to make up both games because the weather is lousy in New York, which, by the way, is one of my pet peeves, man. Why are we opening up the season on the East Coast in early April? I get it. The West Coast teams don't want to use their home dates now. They'd rather be home in the middle of the summer when the kids are out of school, so their attendance is more. I totally understand that, but Major League Baseball has to be better. The Tigers opened up in Chicago and New York. The odds that you're going to get every game in are minuscule. We know how this works. Hell, the odds that the Tigers aren't going to get rain delayed against the A's later on this week, I mean, that's probably slim too. I don't understand why Major League Baseball doesn't come up with a better plan. Either start the season later, or it's pretty easy. If you're an East Coast team, you're going west for the first 2 weeks. Figure it out. I don't care how you do it, but you better do it because it's such a buzzkill to get into a baseball team, especially the Tigers. They're 4-0, and then know that you can't watch baseball for like 3 days because it's an off day Thursday. They didn't play yesterday, and look at that. I just gave a thumbs up. Who knew that worked like that? And try that again. They're not going to play later today, I wouldn't think either. It's totally my pet peeve about early season baseball. You get into it, you're scratching the itch, which is missing baseball, and then you get all these rainouts, and it feels so empty and hollow, and I hate that feeling. So do better, baseball. Do better. We want to watch your product. We don't want to get rained out in the early season when the most eyes are on your product and the most anticipation is on your product as well. So I got that rant out of the way. Real quick, can we get to the Tigers bullpen before we get to the meat and bones of this podcast? Have you seen how good this Tigers bullpen is? Like, I think I nailed the fact that they're going to be short on offense. They've played 4 games. They've scored 1 run, 7 runs, 3 runs, and then 5 runs, but all 5 of those runs the other day came in extra innings. I do believe that the offense is going to be short. But I think what could make up for a bad or weak offense is really good starting pitching and a really dominant bullpen. I want to give you these stats because these stats are unfreaking believable. This comes from Evan Woodbury, who covers the Tigers for MLive. Listen to what he says here, if I can find it. I should have been prepared. The Tigers bullpen in the first 4 games, and again, I'm assuming Tuesday night gets rained out, so it's only going to be 4 games. But in 4 games against 3 with the White Sox and 1 with the Mets, there's 17.1 innings that have been taken care of by the Tigers bullpen. Take a guess how many runs they've allowed. 1. Andrew Chafin on Sunday gave up a homer to DeLong from the White Sox. In 17 innings, 1 earned run, 5 walks, 19 strikeouts. That is fucking filthy. It's awesome. How long have we been searching for a bullpen? Like forever? If you had a bullpen back in the Dave Dombrowski days, the Tigers would have multiple World Series. They would have won one in 12. They would have won one in 13 for sure. Maybe even in 06. Maybe even in 11 or 14 as well. The downfall of the Tigers back in the glory days, if you'll say, was the lack of a bullpen. And now they seems like they have a dominant bullpen, and that's pretty awesome. So I wanted to point that out. Tigers bullpen is dominant. So you get into the late innings with the lead, and you're more than likely going to win those games. And A.J. Hinch does a wonderful job managing that pen, setting up matchups for future innings to come, and making sure that not only is he getting his bats in the right spot, but his arms in the right spot as well. I can't wait to see how this plays out with the pen. I'm pretty sure it's for real. The other day on the radio, I did this topic. What about the Tigers through 3 games? It was before the Mets game. Are you sure is real? And I'm sure the bullpen's real. I don't know about anything else, but I'm pretty confident that the bullpen is real. Also real. Derek Lalonde, the head coach of the Red Wings, might be coaching in his last games for Detroit. Only got the job last season. He's only been on the job less than 2 years. We did the podcast that maybe you should fire Lalonde, try to salvage the season, go out and maybe hire Gerard Gallant or somebody else that would be out there, because it happens all the time in hockey. It's happened 7 times already this year. Yzerman chose not to do that. But there was a point where the Red Wings were just rolling. And then, of course, they lost 7 in a row, and now they're fighting for their playoff lives. And apparently, according to Bob Duff, who have covered the Red Wings forever, he's reporting that there's a great chance, if the Wings don't make the playoffs, that Lalonde could be whacked. I'll get into the report momentarily, but let's check the standings first. So as of the recording of this podcast, it's 1:16 now on a Tuesday. The Red Wings are tied for that final wild card spot with the Capitals. Both teams have 82 points, but the Capitals have a game in hand. However, by the time you watch or listen to this, the Capitals could be back in the 3 spot in the Metro because they take on the Sabres. If they win, they'll jump Philly. Then Philly will fall down to that final wild card spot. They're 1 point up on the Wings, but the Wings have a game in hand on Philly. And Philly is a fucking mess right now, people. They've lost 5 games in a row. 5 games in a row for John Tortorella's team. Now, 2 of those games, they picked up a single point. Even the other day on Monday, they tied the game with 10 seconds left to pick up a point, or the Wings would be sitting in even better shape. The Wings are chasing the Capitals and or the Flyers. They just got to beat out one of those teams for the final wild card spot in the East. And I do now like their chances. I do, considering they had a gutsy, awesome performance on Monday against the Bolts. I did not think they'd beat the Lightning. And David Perron finds a way to score with about 2 minutes left to go in the game. It was a tied game at 2, and Perron makes sure to put the biscuit in the basket. He lit the lamp. And I got to tell you, that was an emotional, invigorating game. That was a game I thought they were going to lose. And now with 7 left, and the schedule lightens up considerably, and they do have the Capitals on their docket, I kind of like the Wings' chances to make the second season, which apparently could save Derek Lalonde's job. But just to tell you, before we get to the report, how messed up the Flyers are, that they've lost 5 in a row. And by the way, the Wings lost 7 in a row. Capitals went on a losing skid. The Islanders went on a losing skid. They're only 3 points behind the Wings. So it's really bunched up towards the bottom. There's legitimately 4 teams fighting for a playoff spot. But the Capitals, I think, probably in the best of shape because they have a chance to topple the Philadelphia Flyers and get the 3 spot in the Metro. So they could be in. I think the Philadelphia Flyers are in trouble. And you don't believe me? They lost the other day to the Islanders in overtime, so they picked up a point. Listen to John Tortorella postgame. Take a listen to this, people. This seems like a team that is taking on water. It's not enough to lose 5 in a row, but listen to Torts, who I love, by the way, postgame after the overtime loss.
St. Cloud scores that goal early in the second period. You guys had all the momentum. and things kind of came to a stop. What was your assessment of where things were?
Soft. One guy played, the goalie.
How encouraging is it that he came in like that cold and was able to?
Terrific. He's the only guy that played.
Is that pretty surprising? Considering you said, like, you trust your team, you don't have to tell them or remind them, and then they do that.
You're finding things out here, okay, when these games are at a whole different plane, okay? It's still regular season, right? But it's a whole different plane. So we're finding things out.
You talked after last game about that was kind of what you felt like wasn't a great performance. Are you concerned at all that tonight it kind of lingered again, that you just said it was a soft game per se?
Not the whole game and not the whole group. There are certain people that they don't have a clue how to play or just don't have it in them to play in these type of situations. And this is why I'm glad we're playing them. I'm glad because we have to figure things out as far as what we're going to become as a team here. That was embarrassing in the second period for the Philadelphia Flyer uniform, the way we played. Embarrassing. High marks as far as how we came back in the third. Some guys.
With regards to Ivan, why did you make the decision to bring him in, and how impressed were you in his performance tonight?
I wanted to bring him in. It just didn't look right with Urs, and I'm totally impressed. I put him in a hell of a spot. And he's the only goddamn player that played in the second period.
All right, so he's talking about Ivan Fedotov, who made his NHL debut, I guess. He's a netminder, and Torts threw him in the game. And he did allow a couple of goals, but he stood on his head a couple of different times as well. And as Tortorella mentioned, he put him in a bad position. The best part about that entire clip by Torts, and I love that dude, I really do, always speaks his mind. But the best part is when he's like, he's the only goddamn player, right? And then they send it back to studio. And both studio hosts are like, what are we supposed to say now? So the Flyers are taking on water. After the Wings found a way to go into Tampa Bay and get a massive win, I kind of feel like, dude, they're going to make the playoffs now. But if they don't make the playoffs, according to Bob Duff, who works for Detroit Hockey Now, that's Hockey Now. He worked for the Windsor Star. I've seen him at so many Wings games. Super nice guy, does a hell of a job. He's reporting that Derek Lalonde could be out if the Wings don't make the playoffs. Let me read this to you. This is from Det Hockey Now. An NHL source is telling Hockey Now that the possibility of a coaching change is something that is being pondered by Steve Yzerman. According to the source, Yzerman might be considering a change in his coach in the offseason were the Red Wings to continue their free fall out of the Cup playoffs. And if that indeed is the route he decides to take, the man at the top of the list of desirable candidates on Yzerman's shortlist would be former St. Louis Blues coach Craig Berube. Now, Berube did win a cup with the Blues, and then he got fired this year, ironically enough, after the Wings beat him. So the Wings beat him like 4-1, and then early in the season, the Blues whacked Berube. All right, this is what happens in the NHL. If you don't win, you don't stick around for long. But I wondered if Yzerman was furious. I wondered how pissed he was. He didn't make any moves at the deadline. So I kind of figured everything he was doing was for the future. But apparently, according to Duff in this report, Yzerman is furious at how the Wings have looked down the stretch. Now, to their credit, maybe Lalonde is rallying things. They look better now. In the last 4 or 5 games, with the exception of the Carolina game, yeah, there's some losses there for sure. But they're finding a way to get points, and they're playing better hockey. And that was a massive win on Monday night against Tampa Bay, a game nobody thought they would win. And they played well against Florida on Saturday, despite the fact that the Panthers are taking on water. They're not very good. So I'm curious, do you think the Wings make the playoffs? Do you think Derek Lalonde will get fired if they don't? Do you think he deserves to get fired? Let me know. Are you into this? Or maybe you've quit the Red Wings. I mean, trust me, I've done it too. So many times I've watched these games recently and I say to myself, I'm done. Just get the season over with. They're not making the playoffs and I can't watch anymore. But then they win a game like they won on Monday and they suck me right back in. Like the old movie line, you try to get out and they just suck you back in. Is that Carlito's Way? I believe so. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Let me know. I'm sure you'll correct me. Anyway, let's get to some comments and then go enjoy your life, people. So yesterday we talked about the Michigan Panthers kicker who kicked a 64-yard field goal to get a win, and the fact that many NFL teams have reached out to inquire about this kicker, including the Detroit Lions. I also told you the story about a very mean commenter that doesn't care what I have to say about my life or what's going on in my life. He just wants to hear about baseball. That's it. Tiger baseball. But he did say he's giving me a second or third chance to check out the podcast, but I better clean up my act. Well, you people, you really defended me. And I appreciate that. Like King Derwin says, I don't care, bro, about the haters. Great video. Great job on the show. Bring more dad tips and dad moments. I'm a girl dad also. Go Lions. Thank you, King Derwin. Girl dads are the best. That's right. How about this one from Detroit Tony? Detroit Tony. Not to cast shade on you, but your daughter Olive and her blue Barbie and your dog were delightful and quite frankly were the stars of yesterday's podcast. I almost had coffee shoot through my nose when your daughter corrected your pronunciation of Dow. Oh, listen, you're not casting shade. Detroit Tony, my daughter is way more entertaining than me. There's no question about that. In fact, I think she should have her own podcast. She should take over this podcast, if we're being completely honest. She would do a very good job. She doesn't like sports, though. But a lot of you people don't think I know much about sports anyway. How about one more comment? Jam Cooper says, look, there's a reason why some websites like the Detroit Free Press are getting rid of comment sections. I don't agree with it, but it's undeniable that everyone doesn't deserve for their voice to be heard. Are they getting rid of comment sections? I can tell you this. I don't care what people say to me. It doesn't matter to me at all. I will read the good comments. I will read the bad comments. It doesn't matter to me. I just like that somebody will take time out of their day to say something mean or nice to me. So I will never, ever banish the comment section. In fact, when I make these videos, I post them on YouTube. It asks me, like the comments. It asks me, do I want the mean comments to get through or do I want to filter my comments? And I'm like, yeah, let them all through. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Say whatever you want. I'm just happy you're commenting. I'm happy you're watching. I'm happy you're listening. You would not believe the stuff people say to me over the years doing radio. I'll give you a quick example. We have this thing at 97.1 The Ticket. It's called the Ticket Text. So while you're doing your radio show, you can look at a screen and see what people are texting in. And 9 times out of 10, they're mean. 9 times out of 10, they're not nice. I guess that would be the same as mean. But my favorite one, I'll never forget this. And when I say my favorite one, I mean kind of the most pathetic one. So I'm a Jewish dude. And this one ticket text, I'll never forget it. I read it on the radio. The texter said, Rieger, I hope you choke on a matzo ball. Now, I do love matzo ball soup. It's absolutely delicious. And with Passover coming up, I eat a ton of it. Oh, it's fantastic. Kind of backs you up a little bit, but it's fantastic. But I'll never forget that text. Yeah, so that's what you deal with. So I will never ban the comment section. Say whatever you want. I don't care. I'll read it all. I'm just happy that you guys are participating and watching and following and hopefully enjoying yourself. All right, guys, we'll catch you tomorrow on a Thursday. Have a great day. Bye-bye.